got to play the ball. I mean, that's the margin in this game, isn't it?
It was a desperation play at that point. I think they possibly thought there was less time than they actually had. They still had a good minute and a half at that point, so they had plenty of time to do something. They potentially, if they got through that set, they could still have had another set to play with, and or put some pressure on in the defence at that point, depending on where they turned it over. But I suppose the problem for Salford in that point is who was their goal kicker going to be? Who were they going to have to take that drop kick?
Well, if Inu was playing the ball, I'm not sure who would have been stepping up to take it. And I do think one of the things, what John talked about, the energy battle, I think one of the key things on this game was Joey Lussick seemed to be down on energy at that stage. He'd been good in the game, but I think Leeds actually controlled him quite well and made him less effective. Whereas
I think they did a number on him, didn't they? They clearly seen that's one of and for one thing they prevented any Joey Lussick specials, which has got to be anyone playing against him. That's got to be a win.
I think
Richard Agar listens to SLP.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Richard Agar listens to SLP.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if Barry Mack was listening and he texted, said, make sure you stop him, and that's how. So who knows? Maybe we have changed the whole discourse of the game.
Do you think that's like an experience thing for Salford of not having a huge amount of it? I mean, it was only a year ago they were in a big final, but when those decisions come down to like the last 90 seconds of the game and you're knackered and you are losing that energy battle and you miscount the tackles and you miscount the clock and suddenly you're not in the spot you want to be to draw the game or put one over.
I don't like saying it, but I think Salford have got a couple of tried and tested losers in that side. And I feel sorry for these players because they're good players who can win lots of games and recently have been key in winning lots of games for Salford. But throughout the game, they talked about Inu's record in big games, about Kevin Brown's record at Wembley or in Challenge Cup finals. And when push came to shove, those two players were involved in that play that should have been thinking about setting up either the drop goal to tie it or making the right decision to put someone through. And they came up with, unfortunately, a rushed and botched play. Which, I mean, look.
And is that
I could
another
never
one
be
where
in that position to even botch it. Let's get that out there.
Oh yeah.
But,
same here.
But Salford, this is what Salford have been doing in games, and they couldn't quite do it in the biggest game.
Yeah. And is that another one where Sargentson being on the pitch at that moment, does that give you an edge there that would have steadied them a bit? He's used to, he's played in enough games, big games that have gone down to small margins. Would he be someone who would have been able to at least be vocal on the pitch and saying, look, calm it down, we've got time, just encourage, and effectively being that on-field coach, having that vision from where, depends where he was on the field, but would he have been able to exert that influence had he been there? I would, it's a conjecture, but it just makes me wonder.
There's other players who could do that though. Mossop, Flanagan, Callum Watkins. Oh my God, we haven't talked about Callum Watkins' break. I think it was at 16 all. He made a break, didn't he? And he basically, it was like the World Cup final again, but instead of being ankle tapped, he just rode through the tackle, but then threw his pass into touch when Rhys Williams was there. I don't know if Rhys Williams would have made it the whole way, but it was
Agent Watkins still on the payroll.
Salford really did have 2 or 3 chances in that last 15 minutes that blow the idea off the handover given on halfway being the crucial moment of the match, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there were plenty of opportunities that they had, and they could have, if they converted one of those 3 or 4 probably chances, they probably had a chance to score again before it was locked up as well. So if you look at that as 3 or 4 chances to score, had they taken one of those, then it would have been a very different conversation.
Definitely, but it wasn't a different conversation. Leeds came out on the winning side, and probably then at that point the conversation of whether it was Myler or Evans to win the Lance Todd was done, and the only conversation was it Myler or Gale to win the Lance Todd. So do you think the decision on that was right, Tim?
I think so. I think it's who I had said, who I sort of would have put down. I think that Evans, to me, he wasn't quite as involved in some of the biggest moments. I think he had a good game overall, but whether he was there at the pinnacle throughout, whereas I think Richie Myler was constant from the second or third minute right up to those last few plays. And I think that he, had a real game-changing effect on it. And I think, as we've seen here, having him at fullback has actually proved to be a really good option and someone who's much more dependable and steady than we would have thought he was 18 months ago. If you look back to around that Bradford game that we talked about at the beginning of this segment, that was when Richie Myler, we thought he was probably done as a Leeds player around about he looked like he wouldn't be here by this point, and I'm really pleased for him because he's someone who you sense is enjoying himself and giving all his effort.
Yeah, he's a Leeds player you can really like, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Because he felt like he was on the scrap heap so many times in the last year at Leeds, the last 18 months or so. You're right. John, did you agree with the man of the match? And also, how did you feel at that point, talking through from the Man of the Match award through to the trophy presentation?
I completely agree with with Myler getting that. He was really, really strong, and even though he had, like you said, a bit of a clanger with that dropped bomb, his positive contributions were really strong, and also, as I said earlier, in bits of the game where he's maybe not excelled in the past, and the adding into the line and playing almost as a third half is kind of bread and butter for him. But then adding in that broken field running and the defensive positioning and all that kind of stuff was really, really strong on Saturday. So I've absolutely no qualms with him having that at all. And his interview at the end of the game was pretty emotional as well. I think it's.
I like the suggestion that his wife and kids might not have been watching. It's like, if they're watching, well, they've turned over now.
Yeah. Well, it's just work, isn't it? How many wives watch their husbands go to work?
Well, he has to watch her.
Yeah,
true. I think it was really good showing like kind of the journey that he's been on. As Tim said, from kind of being right. Well, you're not going to have a place, and you're free to go and look somewhere else if you can find a team that will have you. And to that is really good, and really happy for him.
And emotion throughout, wasn't there, in the sort of interviews and the celebrations, and part of that.
Yeah, and Gale's interview as well.
Yeah, and Richard Agar. Broken up with a bit.
Conrad Hurrell's invasion.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, like, these things were broken up with a little bit of entertainment from Conrad Hurrell, who is. I don't think there's been a player happier to win the Challenge Cup in the history of the Challenge Cup than Conrad Hurrell. And James Donaldson handing out the medals was quite good as well. Was it James Donaldson?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But I mean that's another player who you can, like James Donaldson. Again, it's about that sort of underdog effort. He was let go by KR, which KR fans were fairly unhappy about and thought that was probably a bit harsh. But he's gone and he's picked himself up and he's forged a career as a solid member of that Leeds squad. Not necessarily someone who's in highlight reel plays every week, but someone who's getting through work and someone, again, you can warm to because he's someone who's hardworking and industrious. So
one of those players we've talked about as well, never the first name on the team sheet, but one of the first names on the bench.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, someone you want to be able to call on when it is going a bit sticky and say, look, just put a shift in, just get us somewhere, just take some meters up. And he's like, right, okay, yeah, there's the ball, I'm going forwards, thank you very much. He's got quite a simple game to him, but it's effective.
And I think the final thing to talk about with this game and talking about the celebrations and the emotions is the Rob Burrow element to it, isn't it, John? So we've all cried this week watching the documentary on BBC. It's still on the iPlayer, Rob Burrow, My Year with MND.
Did anyone manage to make it outside the intro 30 seconds before they started crying?
Good grief, no.
I was gone within the first 2 shots. It was, and I'm welling up just thinking about it now.
Yeah, I think just to take a step onto that from the game. I think what was really, really hard was it's easy to say he's so brave and he's so inspirational, all that kind of stuff, and he's so positive, which he clearly is. But that really showed that he does have weak moments as well, and it's okay to face that and not be really strong and positive and determined all day every day, because you can't. And I think that was really kind of humbling to watch as well. That even though he is incredible and dealing with it, there's still times when he struggles.
Yeah, it's such a horrible.
But anyway, let's back to the game, because otherwise
it's so easy.
We'll start going again.
Yeah, it's so easy to give up with that sort of horrible disease, and even the piece, kind of the way it wrapped it up with him having his own voice recorded on his phone, kind of, I suppose, gave a bright note to the dark clouds around it. But yeah, well done to Rob and his family and to the people at the BBC who put that together. But it played its part, didn't it, in Leeds' build-up? It played its part in certainly Leeds' celebrations. So it was definitely worth mentioning at this stage. So what was your overriding feeling after that game, after you'd seen all the celebrations? How did it feel to win the weirdest Challenge Cup final ever?
Relief, I think, is probably overwhelming to think that this is now kind of not like the start of the dynasty again and that kind of thing that's been kind of touted around, but just almost like there's good things happening again, and there's reasons to be optimistic about the future. Whereas where we were a year ago, it was, God, are we going to, well, maybe not a year ago, but in the middle eights all the time, and struggling to keep out of the bottom four and losing to teams that we shouldn't lose to and not getting anywhere in the cup and things like that, and really wondering where the inspiration and where the cohesion is going to come from for this team. And now suddenly, it's although it's been a very strange year and a cup final that hopefully we don't have to kind of play in the same conditions again, really kind of getting some silverware and seeing the team play so doggedly, I guess, and also, just really be happy and enjoy it, I think is a really positive thing for the longer term prospect for the Rhinos.
Yeah, well said. I mean, don't come at us about not talking about Salford so much, everyone, because, if you're familiar with our show, this is what we do when people win. We celebrate the win with someone from the winning time, even if we don't want that side to win.
If it was anybody else but Leeds, I'd have been going for Salford as well, I think.
But Salford played the part in engrossing final, and certainly they've come on a long way on their journey in the last 4 years or so, and kind of Tom Andrews' match review gave us a nice insight back into thinking about that one as well. So they played their part in this. Their cup run was a really exciting cup run in what was an abbreviated cup season. So well done to Salford for their part too. But well done to Leeds, and congratulations to you, John, on another trophy.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Right, what we're going to do now is going to say goodbye to John, and we're going to start going through everything else that's happened in the next week. Don't be upset if your matches later on don't get as much attention as that one, but I hope you understand why. Thanks, John.
Thanks very much, guys.
Cheers.
See ya.
Okay, so it's time for the news, and we start off with news that assistant boss Danny Orr will leave Castleford Tigers at the end of the 2020 season to seek new opportunities in his coaching career. The 42-year-old had stints. How is he only 42? Had 2 stints as a player at his hometown club in a 15-year spell.
He started when he was about 16, though, didn't he, at Cass?
Yeah.
I feel like he was already a seasoned veteran by the time he moved to Wigan, but he was only about 23.
And was a Great Britain capped international halfback. He then moved on to the coaching staff under Ian Millwood and was retained under success Daryl Powell. All said it's been a tough decision to make, but I feel like I have to do this at this stage of my coaching career. I'd like to thank everyone at the club for the support I've received over the years and wish Powley and the boys all the best for 2021. So I don't know if this is